The Alfie Whattam podcast.
Next thing I wanted to go over was the emergence of robotic prosthetics. Prosthetics, I can pronounce it. Somebody tweeted this clip to me. If you have clips that you want us to cover on the show, please tweet them to me. My Twitter thing will be on the screen at the moment. This is showing essentially an innovation which has been worked on for a long time, but it's starting to get a lot better, and very, very soon we'll be at the point where people with this tech will have an advantage to people that don't have this tech. So the people that are getting this for accessibility purposes will be more capable than the people that don't have this. Let me show you a clip. If you're listening on audio, please turn on the video. This is a lady attaching a robotic arm to herself, which can be controlled through her thoughts. She thinks open hand, she thinks closed finger, she thinks open the pinky, and it does that as a result. All you have to do is think, and it operates the same way that a human hand would. She can grab grapes, she can do all different types of tasks that a regularly person with two arms would be able to do. Obviously, this is just one example on the arm, but when you have legs, when you have eyes, hearts, etc., etc. I think a push-up needs some work, but that's okay. And typing as well, obviously, the most important task of the century. So, robotic prosthetics. Am I pronouncing that right? I'm terrible at pronouncing stuff. Really interesting space. What are your views on this, Mike? When you see this clip, what comes to mind? What do you think?
I'm impressed. I think the main thing that stands out is the fine motor skills that they've managed to get. It's like the fact that they can sort of pick up like an individual like jelly bean or grape, whatever it was on the video. Yeah, it's just quite impressive. Obviously I haven't looked into it. I'd be quite keen to understand how they've managed to sort of do that, because you say it's like managed by the thought. I'm assuming it's like related to like sensing the movements of like tendons or something in the arm. Yeah,
the electromagnetic tendons, all of that.
But it's very impressive. I think it's going to be like a game changer for people who've obviously like missing limbs and stuff. And as you say, that'll kind of like lead on to like sort of like missing legs and that kind of thing. So it'd be really interesting to see how they can sort of enable people to kind of move forward with that.
That was an arm, but there are other body parts already being released and used and sold and whatnot. What's your point of view, Jess, when you see that clip?
Yeah, I think it's definitely very interesting. Obviously, there's been a lot in the robotics scene in the past few years, and to be able to produce something like this, which is going to be a big enabler for a lot of people, being able to achieve more or do more in their everyday life that maybe they struggled with a bit before. I think it's definitely going to be life-changing. I really look forward to seeing where something like this goes and how it can help people. Yeah.
And what's your take, Andy?
It's a powerful video, isn't it?
It's amazing, isn't it?
It's amazing to see what technology, how it's enabling people and being used for good. I hope it's used and governed correctly. At South by Southwest last year, we heard an interesting threat emergence talk that talked about prosthetics and actually hearts, and how it opens up new attack vectors and potential new routes for exploitation. Like, an emerging threat could be a terrorist could press a button and turn everyone's heart off within a certain radius, for example. Yeah. So I guess the security side of those prosthetics, hope I said that right too. Yeah. Should be a big concern of the manufacturers, but it's definitely for the good.
Where I see this going is, if this keeps getting better and better and better, eventually you're going to want to have them, because you're going to have an arm which can reach across the room and grab a glass of water. You're going to have legs where you can run 50 miles per hour and jump over huge, heights. And you're going to have eyes where you can zoom in and live stream what you're seeing, and then hearts. And obviously these are, very complex problems which are going to be worked on a step at a time. But people are going to want to become cyborgs and upgrade. And perhaps it's not there at the moment, obviously, but we're already cyborgs in some respect. If you have a hearing aid, or if you the new AirPods, they have like a noise cancelling mode, which is really, really interesting, and that is great for it's adapting and changing the human experience through technology. What are your thoughts on like people wanting to get this? Because in like 5-10 years, people are going to want to be signing up to get this sort of stuff. What do you think, Jess?
Yeah, I think it's going to be one of those things where, where do we stop? Where do we put the limit on who can have these, and, like where the prosthetics go themselves. Like obviously we've got arms and legs and those kind of things at the moment, but to what extent, what else is going to be produced off the back of this? And, I think, it's about being careful into who is allowed to purchase these, and it's definitely a big worry, as well as a great thing that they're doing.
Yeah, but it could be very dystopian. You could have somebody walking down the street with 10 arms and guns strapped to each of them. So I don't know if there should be a who decides who gets this, but to begin with, it will probably be rich people that have this upgrade, because it was probably going to cost a lot of money. We'll talk about the price in a second, but it's not cheap. But eventually that will come down and down and down, and then people will use them. What about from your side, Andy? What do you think about how this could become an upgrade to the human experience?
I guess you probably have to be missing a limb at the moment to need a prosthetic
Yeah,
limb.
you need to be injured in war or born without a limb.
So I think that's going to limit the market.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
I'd love to be able to open the jar of jam without asking my wife to do it, but
Sure,
I'm not going to chop my arm off and swap it with a prosthetic to do it.
Would you get a third one though? Like if someone said, you can
Potentially.
attach one to your spine and then boom.
Well, I don't know. I guess that this is the thing, right? It's body modifications, and there's going to be risk involved with that. And I don't think that's probably a realistic market for it straight away. I think to start off with, you're right. It's for people that need support with missing limbs.
Yeah.
It does raise a lot of interesting questions, I guess. You've had things in the Olympics recently around gender fluidity and competition, and how would competitive sports work.
That's a great question.
If you've got bionic legs,
you'll
and
be the fastest person in the world, won't you? Yeah.
So I think it will raise a lot of interesting questions, but I won't be rushing out to get one. I don't think. No.
Okay. And what's your take, Mike, on people wanting to get these as like an upgrade? Would you be game for that, or what do you think?
Personally, I wouldn't. I feel like it's something that should be like heavily regulated.
Sure.
As I guess to like both Andy and Jess's points there, it's something which is, if used for good, is to kind of like enable people who are like in like an unfortunate situation, they're missing a limb, or even if you go as far as like, I don't know, doing things like replacing the hearing and like ears and whatever. But I feel like it shouldn't just be something like, just because you've got money, you can kind of augment your body with additional body parts just to kind of like make you more powerful. Because it kind of goes back to like something I seen years ago around sort of like exoskeletons and stuff, where you can like people in warehouses, you can use them to like lift massive weights and that kind of thing, which it's got its purpose. And I think when you're going down the route of like you were saying, Andy, of like modifying like the human body to do things, I think that it needs to have like a certain purpose. And I think for now that definitely is around like a medical reason, or just to enable somebody who's like born with like a physical disability or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, who would pay for this? Would it be on the national health care? Would it be
it's a good question.
A private thing? This opens up questions of religious questions. Should we be certain people might not want to get involved in upgrading their I don't know if upgrade is the right word, but I guess it probably is if you're taking something and making it better using technology. And then is there certain things which should be off limits? The heart, the mind, etc., etc. You mentioned about the hacking scenario. I think that's a really, really good point, Andy. I can see that being a headline. The North Korea hacks the president's heart or something and turns it off. I mean, could that be a cyber risk? Biohacking. Do you think that could become a thing?
It certainly needs to be considered. I think if you're producing these prosthetics for people, you probably want to think about emerging threats. You can't just blindly go into creating any tech without considering security as an aspect. I generally think that people that are probably producing these are thinking about emerging threats and how people could take advantage of them. If not, they wouldn't be responsible manufacturers.
Would you feel scared, Jess, around someone hacking your arms and then taking over control over your body?
Yeah, I think I honestly would. I mean, it's in all the movies, all the TV shows where you get these robots that go AWOL and stuff. So why wouldn't it happen? Why couldn't it potentially happen to our hands and legs? Yeah.
And would you be scared as well? Or would you be like, no, let's do it?
It's definitely a scary prospect.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, would you I mean, it's hard to say, would you get this, because there's so many different parts. You know, you've got the arms, you've got the legs, you've got the eyes, you've got everything, right? But would you be, if Apple released the eye arm, or the Microsoft released the next generation legs, would you if it was a mainstream big tech company, and you go into the Apple store and it's a 2-hour upgrade and surgery, and then you come out of it and then suddenly you're superhuman, would you if it was the right price point, would you be open to that idea? What do you think?
I feel if I was in a situation where I did need something like that, then potentially I think that's where it might go. So like obviously you've got like big companies are researching this kind of thing, but it probably will get to that point where there's a lot of things on the market and it's kind of come down to you go in and shop for the one which like best fits your needs. So yeah, it's an interesting one.
Would you upgrade, Jess, or you want to stay completely human?
I think I would stay completely human, but I would be interested in seeing how many people uptake this and where it goes. And you never know, if a few years with this all goes good, then I might be interested.
Could I sign you up, Andy? Or you know?
I think if I had an accident and I needed it, yes.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't go out and swap like my hands for robotic hands, because I don't think you'd have the same feeling or touch or the human aspects that you don't get with computers. You might have superhuman strength, but you're going to be sacrificing quite a lot, I think, for that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting if the people that don't upgrade get left behind, though, because if they're in a competitive world, and if two people apply for a job and one of them can lift a huge box and one of them can only lift normal boxes, who they're going to hire, who they're going to pick. So it'll be interesting to see how this bleeds into other areas of the world. But definitely a bit of a crazy topic. Price wise, I mean, this is such a crazy number that you wouldn't have any idea really, but if I said over or under 100 grand, what would you say?
Over.
What would you say?
Over.
It's actually, so for 2 arms it's 100 grand, so 50 grand an arm at the moment. It's in pounds, but obviously that price is going to come down, and you need to be a very rich wounded war veteran to get that at the moment, unless you have some kind of grant or something. But if that comes down to the point where it's not a huge convenience for somebody to do, then who knows, maybe we'll be half cyborgs in 20-30 years. Let's see what happens.
Hey, thanks for watching this YouTube video. If you want to see more like this, please remember to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.